Right, so it is the end of March. We had spiking temperatures above 80 Fahrenheit, 85, even 90. And now we're back to the high 70s, going to the low 70s, and it will stay there for a little and then go up again. So hopefully these temperatures are moderate during the next month, because I don't get a lot of opportunities to do work like this. Normally the temperatures, we get spring temperatures, trees push, and by the time they're starting to harden, the new growth, it skyrockets to above 85 or on the 80s, and it's basically a summer-like temperatures. The trees shut down, so if you want to do some work like a little maintenance, cutting back, it's too late already. The temperatures are too high, and the trees will just stop activity when above 85 Fahrenheit. But it seems to me that like I have at least a month of moderate temperatures, a post-spring to fall maintenance that is done normally towards end of spring, if you have a climate that allows that. So the tree is in an energy positive state. As you can see, there's elongation. It was actually repotted, but it was a very mild repot where I took it out of the pot. I just adjusted a little bit of the edge of the roots, and I planted in this bigger container. If it was a normal repot where you go in, you dig in, and you work the roots a little more, the tree probably wouldn't elongate it like this. I have in my previous video, I have several examples of the difference between that positive energy of state with elongation in trees that are stalling or are not progressing in that direction. So what we're going to be doing today, well, first of all, I'm going to remove the wire because I don't want wire marks. This wire has been here since the end of fall, which was late, almost December. It's March, so 3-4 months. And now I want to remove it because from this growth period to fall, the tree will start thickening again a little more. And after removing the wire, or before removing the wire, I'm actually going to trim back a little. Now, the way I'm going to trim back is just basically on new growth. I can find an example right there. So we have this little section, which is the new growth of this season, and elongated, and then we have a how do you call this growth? It's a alternated pattern of leaf in elms, and I saw some experts, seasoned experts, saying that in elms or alternated pattern leaves, you should cut up to 4 leaves. So meaning I'm going to reduce this and leave only 4 leaves instead of 2. Normally on the cedars, like a maple, we would cut back to 2 leaves and they're parallel to each other, so we would just split. For some reason, this is what I've read and watched, and I'm gonna follow that because there's nothing wrong with it. If I cut to 2 and there's something that has a negative effect, I'll have issues, but with 4 I still have very tight internodes and I can do it. Here's something important that I should be looking to achieve here. The tree, if you remember the last video, the tree is in positive energy state, so we have cytokinin coming from the roots and promoting this elongation, promoting this new growth. At the same time, new tips will promote production of auxin, and that will turn into root growth. So I don't want to go into a situation where I just cut so much that it looks beautiful and perfect, but there's no more new shoots, there's no more promotion of new root growth, there's no auxin being promoted. No, I want to do a moderate reduction in a way that the tree will still stay in a positive state, will still be actively growing, and not just shock her by making some kind of perfect balance between auxin and cytokinin, where it just doesn't move the rest of the year. No, I really want to leave that positive state of energy, so that, because I reduced to 4 leaves, now I want it to split, so I need that. I can't just go crazy and cut everything down, because I'll be bringing this tree to a negative state of energy. And that being said, let's start working on it. So I'm only gonna go for the main elongation and not for the branch. I'm not gonna cut back. First of all, I can't have that notion at this point. There's too many small leaves, so it's hard and confusing to try to do that work. That's a work that I normally will do in fall, try to correct all those branches that don't make sense or are out of place. So here I'm just trying to maintain the structure by cutting the tips, which will promote more inner growth and more light to the interior of the tree. And sometimes I have this situation here. Okay, that'll be good. I'll still keep those. Or maybe not. Let me see. Yeah. Just gonna prevent that from keep going. There's a, see if you see it. It's a very vertical growth over here, and it's new growth, so this one I can just eliminate. Right, you see this big elongation. I could cut back, but I don't know if it's very visible. I actually lack some growth in this pad. So this is a very good future branch, and I'm not gonna touch that. What I have here inside is something going totally vertical. There, can you see it? Boom. So another thing that I'm trying to prevent is that it elongates so much that the branches get too thick. We want to prevent that these branches get to a thickness that you want to make sense in a natural tree, in a tree that is in nature. So this one I needed to build that pad, but this one at the tip, it's already coming out of the silhouette of the tree, right? So that's why we're cutting back. Now we have something getting vertical here. Look, see, vertical and towards the tree. trunk. This one is kind of going there, but it doesn't make a lot of sense, right? But if I reduce it to 4 leaves, we can change that direction, and with a little bit of a wire, it'll work nice to build a pad. Same thing here. Looks like it's going inwards, but can work it out. But not this one. This little shoot here does not make sense. It's not gonna happen. But there's something very interesting happening, which is having a shoot right there. It's not my favorite place to have a new branch, but I will not deny it. I can use. Spring allergies. I could use this, for example, in eliminating the topper branch that I'm trying to make sense here, and replace it by this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4. I still have this one crossing the trunk. I think that it's not wrong, but I'm not sure of it. I'm just going to reduce to the 4 sets of leaves, and pull this side later. Okay, so this one's done, this one's done, this one is done. Moving up to the next branch, which is this one. Possibility of bed growing here, so I'm not gonna touch that. This is out of control. Let's see what's going on. Just reduce it here. Same here. I'll have the opportunity to correct in fall once the tree is naked. And we can see all the little branches. Down. I need this to strengthen, I'm not even touching it. Same here, same there. The only goal here is to reduce the elongation so that the branches don't thicken up, and so that the tree can promote more of development of ramification, maybe backbudding, but essentially I'm not trying to elongate. I'm just controlling that by doing some maintenance there, which also will create more space of light to penetrate the interior of the tree. Just making sure that what I've done makes sense. So I meant to say, yeah, I'm going to be doing now something that really bores me to death, which is removing a wire. You know, just snap, 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 snap. It's necessary though. I'm gonna go one branch at a time, and I don't see a lot of people talking about the wire removing. For me, I prefer to just cut at each turn, and some people like to unravel. I don't really use my wire, but cutting at each turn, that will prevent, sometimes you can break some branches, makes it really hard. Anyway, I'm looking at all these cuttings. This would be very nice cutting to do. We can promote this very easy. Unfortunately, the temperature is here to do a softwood cuttings normally are too high, so I rather do that with hardwood cuttings in fall. In fall I'll be correcting everything back again, so if I leave the tree alone right now, in fall it will look something similar like it was before to this. I'll have elongation, I'll have hardwood growth from that year, and it will be easy to put on a nursery container with a heat mat and let it get roots through the winter, so that in spring I can repot it. Almost getting that wire bite right there, so right on time. And this particular tree wouldn't be a very negative thing to have, because sooner or later I'll get some bark. But if you get some wire bite in a thin bark, this is like a Japanese maple. definitely not look good. So it's only something I have in mind because once you get a wire bite on the Japanese maple, it's pretty hard to best correct it, and it will stay for life. So let's talk about why we did what we just did and the strategy behind it. First of all, let's look at the external environments. Season of the year, we're technically in spring, but I had an early spring. So I would say that this would be comparable to a mid-spring, more of a mid-May situation where the young growth already came out and had elongated as well. The tree is in an energy positive state, right? And between spring and fall, we have the opportunity to refine some way or control accordingly to the stage of the tree. This tree is still very much in development, but already looking into a refinement strategy that allows me to fill up the tree according to the style that I'm trying to end. And the style, talking about priorities, this tree already has a trunk with the thickness that I want, already has primary structure, secondary, tertiary branch, but we need to fill up. If this was a juniper or a pine, I would be looking into making pads. It's not so much the case, although it looks like that. It's not so much the case here. What I want here is to have, let's see, if this is the branches, I want to have all my end fine branches in the outer canopy, just filling out the whole section of the tree and then creating negative space. It's not so much about I'll make a pad here, I'll make a pad. No, if you see this tree, it kind of looks awkward. So my end goal would be to fill up this. There's, if you see the movement of the tree, it goes towards that direction by the trunk. The first branch is the leading way. Here it is, a little lower. It'll come up, branches on the outer canopy, and then on this side, not as downwards as that side because of the style of the tree. So it would be more of a flattish on this side and going up, right? So it's still in development. Obviously, there's too much negative space or spaces that I need growth. For example, this branch is very young and it's going to fill up that area. Then I have another one in the back that I can use to also fill up, give some perspective in the back. And now I have this new growth right here. So there's a little bud right there, which is fantastic. And that's because if you look at this first branch, it splits, it goes here, and in my opinion, it's already too thick. You know, we need to have taper in the trunk, but we also need to have taper in the branches. And if you see the thickness from here to here, it's pretty much the same. It's too much, too heavy. So I can still just lower this a little and play with it and all that, but most likely I'll actually end up cutting back and rebuilding with a finer branch to provide that taper. And this bud is fantastic because I can actually even eliminate completely at some point a branch that is too thicker and rebuild another one right there. And then I'll have a little bit of negative space on the outer canopy, a little bit, but overall what we want is just a lot of fine ramification in the extremities, giving that more mature tree look. So we talked about external factors, and I was talking about that and I got a little lost actually. So I'm in I would be typically in mid-May to do this work. What I did was just simply cut back elongated branches that were getting out of the styling canopy, but I did not touch all of the branches. I have all young growth all over the tree. I've only reduced the elongated ones that would not make sense. Now I'm doing this job now because when I look at the weather, I can see a drop in temperature. It was too hot, to be honest. My ideal temperatures are between 55 to 75, 60, 75 Fahrenheit, and we're almost at the 80s. but I see the temperature drop in the next couple of weeks up to the 70s area, high 60s. And I'm hoping that I have another 2 weeks of fairly balanced weather. If you're doing this work and it's 85 Fahrenheit, the tree literally stops active growing after 85. It's just on reserves due to perspiration. I'm going to call it dehydration. So the tree is just keeping what it has. So that's why I did what I did. If I was at 85 or already if I was in summer temperatures, I would not do anything. I would just let it be, because what I want is the tree to get to fall and have plenty green that will absorb the energy. The leaves will turn yellow. It's the tree absorbing the pigments, absorbing all that energy, storing it for winter time, so that in spring, boom, push again. Now let's look at this from an internal energy perspective that I believe that's how the trees react. Right now, the tree is in an energy positive state. It's developing, it's elongating, and I cut back, right? Because I can do it accordingly to the external factors. What am I trying to do? By removing the tips, basically, I barely touch the roots. So we're talking about auxin and cytokinin. If you see my previous video, that's what I try to explain. So the roots are producing cytokinin and putting growth out. The new shoots are producing auxin, and it's producing new roots. So what I just did was kind of create an imbalance where we had some shoots creating auxin, and I cut them out. So there's more cytokinin now. That auxin and cytokinin will start pushing the new growth. So if I cut back, it tries to promote more growth. And in this case, it's going to promote growth inside, because there's light, there's space. I cut those tips, and so it has to promote from the back. So I'm trying to get a little bit of back bud and strength on the interior growth of the tree. So you got external factors, style, and auxin cytokinin balance. Now let's talk a little bit of priorities, and that's because what I see often done is from beginners' point of view is trying to do some kind of more refined or more advanced work in a very young tree. So let's try to understand that in terms of priorities, we do need to establish a trunk thickness. After trunk thickness, we have to establish branch and primary structure. We can do it kind of at the same time, but we also want to establish taper in the branches as along with the taper in the trunk that we already created. And then we work on ramification, right? And so I would set goals in terms of developing bonsai. I would say that I would set goals in this priority: establishing the tree in the pot, in a growing pot, if it's development, if it's a young tree. After that, define direction and style, thicken up the trunk, build ramification, and during those steps also ensure that you promote good taper. And now we get to the stage where we're doing more maintenance and just let the tree keep the ball developing. And most important, not let the tree or not overwork the tree in a way that we push it to a negative state of energy, but keeping that positive state of energy so that it keeps growing and developing. I'm not pinching everything. I am not trimming everything at the same time. I am not on a refined tree where I just want to stall the growth and keep it as it is. No, I'm removing just a little bit. I have energy positive state. I have cytokinin being produced, and I can keep going forward and having growth during the season because the weather allows me to. So I'm going to show you a couple examples that I find that may clarify this perspective from a beginner's view, where we get something young and we go ahead and we just try establish immediately a bonsai look without thinking about priorities first. So here we go, perfect example. We just got, in this case it was a seedling. It was, the main goal, my first goal was to establish it in a growing pot, in development pot. Here it is, good soil pot, and now comes the question, oh, what do I do with it? Well, really, to be honest, nothing. If you have something, a branch, trunk, that is completely against any style that you're going for, I might understand that we want to just do an adjustment. If you have something that is prone to promote inverse taper, you might want to do an adjustment. But at this stage, really, it doesn't do that. Even if I had bar branches and branches crossing the trunks, all that, the only way I would see that I needed to do some kind of intervention here was if there's not enough light going inside. But no, it's so thin, it's so young now. Let's establish priorities first. Thickness of the trunk. Let it grow, let it elongate, let it get energy, let it absorb that in fall, fatten up, and it will take years. I don't know, if 2, 3, 4, 5, it really depends. I have to define the style, I have to define the height of the tree, and according to that, that's how I'm going to proceed. But until I get that thickness of the trunk, I can work around with style here and there once I see the vision of it, but I really don't want to start any advanced work that it's not adequate to the stage of the tree. This is not a seedling, and it's been in this pot for a couple of years, or yeah, it's second season, I believe, but it's the same idea. So this will be a tree that I'll do like a tree trunk kind of a split here and develop at the height would be probably about this. I know already the style, and I know the how I want the tree to go in terms of development. But and I have bar branches here and there, but I'm not cutting them. That would be just again setting back the tree, taking energy from it. Where what I want is just to build girth, build trunk. So for that to happen, we gotta let them go. We have to resist the temptation of cutting back, overdoing, even if it looks better. We have to establish priorities and follow those. And that's why I've been hitting a little bit about follow your plan, follow the plan, have priorities, see the external factors like the weather and season, and plan accordingly. Right now, unless I had a huge amount of leaves in the canopy that would not allow sun inside, and even that way, it's still too young for that. I have time for that. I can just let it go, thicken up and elongate and not have so many branches inside, because I know that one of these falls in a couple of years, I can cut those trunks, those branches back, and they will bud back. So unless I had even taper, I don't see why I would even care to touch this tree. As you can see, or if you have noticed, I don't have the perfect tree. It has flaws. I still have flaws, and I'm trying to correct them. I still believe that the trunk will fatten up more. There's slightly inverse taper over here because there was a big branch over there. Despite that, I can just take a little bit of bark here, and I think that would correct it. I still have branches that got too thick, and I gotta correct that. I still have space that I need to fill out. I have a bar branch that is starting to give me a bit of a inverse taper over here, and at some point I will have to make a decision about it. Right now I could even trim back more to prevent those branches to get fatter. I haven't made a decision, to be honest, but it looks like I will need to make one, and most likely this one will be removed and this one can be lowered. Now this job, it's a fairly fair size cut. I rather not do it now. I will do it in fall. I prefer to do hard cuts and bendings and all that in fall. There's a little bit of a wire scar here, but with bark filling up, it won't be noticeable. This over time will get bark and will fill up this kind of gap, and will seem more like a twin trunk than a mother-child kind of separation between the two trunks. And in the end, overall, yeah, I need to fill up all the exterior canopy with fine ramification. Let's put it this way. I've had this tree for about 8 years, and I can tell you that if I knew the things I knew today, I would probably get this tree to this state and in a lot better, more branches, more ramification, more everything. I could probably have done this tree or reached this stage in about four years, so half the time. And that's because I really set back the tree, just as I mentioned, cutting too early, putting in a bonsai pot too early instead of a development pot. All those beginner's mistakes that myself as a beginner at the time committed. A lot of people see this as a hobby that takes too long, and if they're in an advanced age they don't get motivated, but I believe that in 5 years you can get something that starts to look like a more mature tree. This is not a perfect example, but that's where we are now, and that's why I'm making this video, to hopefully pass the message and give a little bit of understanding of how to direct your bonsai journey. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.